Hey y'all, so I'm doing a Book Habits booktube tag. Asfandyar Sheikh had tagged me in it in his video. I'm going to go ahead and link that down below along with his channel. And I wanted to have this out a lot sooner than today that you're seeing it. I think will be Thursday. But I'm really behind in filming whenever I was getting ready to do all my filming and stuff and kind of getting ready. We got hit by tornadoes. I am fine as long as with my immediate household we're fine. We were just without power for 3 days there. My grandparents' house was unfortunately destroyed, but they are safe. So we're really thankful for that. My other set of grandparents mostly just had yard damage and tree damage, so they're also fine as well. Everyone is safe that I know. We finally have power. So I'm sorry that I'm behind on getting all this out, but hopefully I can get back on schedule and no other tornadoes wreak through the neighborhood. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and let's learn about my reading habits, because honestly before I had watched this video I hadn't really thought about my own reading habits. So it's kind of interesting that some of these questions I had to actually think about some of them. So first question. Do you have a certain place at home for reading? And mostly I would just say it's the couch. I like to sit up when I read because otherwise my back kind of starts hurting if I'm hunched over on the bed. So I just can't get comfortable in bed when I'm reading. Sometimes I do read in bed, but it's not a lot. I usually like to just sit up on the couch, kind of prop my feet up, get a blanket. Usually my cat curls up with me, so that's just kind of where I prefer to read, and Jericho, my cat, is my reading buddy. So that's pretty much it. I'll read almost anywhere, waiting rooms or whatever, but that's where I prefer to read is every night. It's just on the couch. Number 2, bookmark or random piece of paper. So this is where my neuroticism is going to come out. I always have a bookmark, and this is pretty much, I don't know if you guys can really see, it's really sad. It has the title of the book, how many pages it has, and then I have my goals as far as like what page I want to be at by what day, and then I take that and decide how many pages I need to read that day, and I just keep this as a bookmark. It's a piece of black cardstock, and then just a little post-it, a little memo pad. It's not actually sticky, and then I use a little bit of washi tape to stick it, and I keep the same piece of cardstock, and I change the post-it with every book, and so when I'm done with that book, then I just take the post-it portion off of the cardstock and just leave it in the book in case I reread it again. I don't know why I do that, but I do. I leave it in there, and that's my bookmark. So now y'all know how obsessed I am with how many pages I read and by what day. Number 3, can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter / certain amount of pages? I think we kind of know what the answer is on this one. Now, I know that a lot of times I can stop anywhere. Because I know for me, feasibly, reading 50 pages in one sitting is pretty hard. With the way my lifestyle is, it's just not something that I can really just sit down for an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on the page count, in one sitting. So sometimes I may have to read like 20-30 minutes on my lunch break, and then another 20-30 minutes on an afternoon break, or, 20 minutes while I'm cooking dinner while whatever's in the oven, and then I'll read, like we'll watch TV together or we'll eat dinner together, and then after that then I'll go back to reading. So I can chop it up in bits and pieces throughout the day, but at the end of the day I always want to finish on the page number that I'm on, that like my goal, my page number goal, or at a chapter if it's close enough to, whether it's a little bit under or a little bit over my goal, I'll end on a chapter if I want, if I need to stop or something. So I'm a little flexible, even if my neurotic bookmark might say otherwise. Number 4, do you eat or drink while reading? So I don't eat while reading, and that's not because I'm not too neurotic about getting food on my books. Like, I definitely try to keep my books in a new condition. But the thing with eating while I'm reading, I don't want to hold my book, especially since I'm reading some of these big, thicker books. I just physically can't hold it in one hand. So I just don't want to try to eat and then hold the book or change pages at the same time. It's just, I would rather just sit down and eat when I'm, eat my dinner until I'm done, and then go back and read to where I can just read comfortably. I'd rather not struggle to do both at the same time. Drinking, I don't mind. I usually have like a Coke. Like, I love vanilla Coke, so I usually just drink that at the same time, or water. I usually try to have something to drink while I'm reading, but it's not a necessity, and I don't avoid it either. So, number 5, do you multitask while reading music or TV, for example? So, I don't watch TV while I read, unless, like, if I'm on the couch with the rest of my family. If they have something going on in the background, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Sometimes I do get a little annoyed if I'm really struggling to focus. If I do keep getting distracted, I'll put on my headphones, and then I'll go to YouTube and just find the focus music. I think it's Green Project Red? Green, I don't know. I'll link that channel down below. And I'm sorry that I can't remember, but I can't use my phone to look it up right now to tell you the proper name. But I use their live feed of just like either focus music or happy music, just kind of depending. I'll do that while I'm reading, just to kind of keep my focus in, because it doesn't have words or anything like that. I'm not familiar with it, so it just lets me kind of have something on the background that I don't have to pay attention to, but can block out other things, other distractions. So, okay, one book at a time or several at once. Now, this is a little bit of a different type question, because years ago, before I got into my huge reading slump, I would probably read 2 to 3 books at a time, and then I just end up DNFing all of them. So now that I'm kind of back in my new groove and I am not doing that any longer, reading multiple books at once, I do read one physical book at a time, and then I usually have an audiobook going. So I guess I do technically have 2 going, 3 if you count my House of Leaves project, which I kind of don't tend to count that at all. But now my reading preferences have changed. I used to do a lot of books at once, and I feel like that just ended up making me quit reading all of them. So I prefer to read one book through physically before I pick up another one. So that's just my preference now, and that may change in the future. Reading at home or at everywhere. So I've already kind of answered that one. I'm willing to read everywhere. I don't, now if it's going to be like 5 to 10 minute bouts at a time, I tend to not want to pull out my book for 5 minutes, because then I just get annoyed that I can't keep reading. So, when, like, if I go to the doctor's office and I know that I'm going to be sitting there waiting for 20-30 minutes easy, I'll of course read my book and do that. But if I'm just waiting on somebody and I think it's only going to be 5, maybe 10 minutes, I usually don't bother pulling out my book, because I am one of those people where I may not have to stop at a chapter, but I want to either stop at the end of a page or at a big paragraph where I can easily pick up where I left off easy. So I'm not one of those people that I can just shut the book in the middle of a sentence and I get irritated. So I have some limits to when I want to stop reading. So if it's going to be like a 5-minute thing where I can't really get into reading, only get like a page or 2 at a time, I tend to not bother opening the book. And I probably could read a lot more if I was willing to do that. So that may be something that I try to work on. Okay, so next question is reading out loud or silently in your head. And I definitely just read silently in my head. I don't know of anybody that reads out loud. I know that there was a particular book, and I can't even remember the name of it, where it would word things so weird, like it would use double negatives a lot, and so sometimes I would stop and read a sentence out loud to try to work through these double and triple negatives. But that, even then, that was really only a couple times in that book, and that was just for that particular moment. So it's not something that's common at all, and I don't know anybody else that actually reads out loud. Next question. Do you read ahead or skip pages? I definitely just read as I go. I try not to skip. I definitely don't skip pages at a time. There may be some instances where I might skim through a paragraph, and when I say skim, I mean like still reading parts of each sentence just to kind of see where the sentence is going and then moving on. Like if we're getting too much description on any scene or something, I'm like, I've already heard you talk about the landscape, I don't need 4 more paragraphs of this. I just kind of read the beginnings of each sentence to see if we're still talking about landscape, and then once we're not talking about it, I kind of go back to that beginning paragraph and then read. It's really rare that I do that. I can't remember the last book that I've really done that on. So it's really rare. I wouldn't say it's a common occurrence at all. I tend to just read everything. Number 10, breaking the spine or keeping it like new. So I like to keep my books almost in new condition. So I don't purposely break my spines. I try to be gentle with them. I don't, I'm not one of those readers where I barely open the book to try to, peer in. Like I'll open it and I'll read it, but I'm very cautious and I'm careful with the book. I don't want to break the spine. If I do, it's not a huge deal. I'm not going to get rid of the book just because I do break the spine, but I try not to if I can help it. And the last question, do you write in your books? No. I'm one of those people where I kind of feel like writing in your book is blasphemy, almost. And there has been several books where I kind of wish I was one of those people that could highlight or underline or, write in the book, write my words or my thoughts down, in the book, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And in a way, I wish I was one of those people. I think it'd make my life easier than trying to take notes down in like my Bookly app or something, but I can't bring myself to do it. So I don't, I know I said it's almost like blasphemy, but if you write in your books, it doesn't bother me because they're not my books. And like I said, I kind of wish I was one of those people that could do it. I just can't bring myself to do it. So it is what it is. Just as long as you don't write in my books, I'm okay. Write in your own books, I don't care. So yeah, that was the Book Habits BookTube tag, and I really enjoyed the questions. So thank you to Asfandyar Sheikh. And if anybody else wants to do the BookTuber tag, feel free, by all means. I want more people to do the tag as well. I'm just kind of behind in recording, so I don't know who all has done it yet. So just feel free to jump on it. I enjoyed answering the questions, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Y'all take care. Bye.